Hi everyone, it's Yen, and I've been working at home for the past 7 years, and I'm hoping this video would help you decide if freelancing is something you'd like to delve into, because behind the free time we have going to parties, the beach photos that most freelancers have, and the huge bonuses and lucky client interactions most freelancers show in social media, there is just so much more that goes on behind the curtains. I'm going to share with you the reality, the fun, and the hardships that we freelancers have to face on a daily basis. And what I'll do so you can further relate to the stuff I'll be mentioning is I'll be comparing it with working in an office. I've worked in an office before, so I have pretty good grasp of what I lost and what I did gain when I switched from working in an office to becoming a full-time work-at-home freelancer. Okay, so the first thing that is very different when it comes to working in the office versus working at home is having more time. We don't need to travel, and that allows us to have so much more extra time in a day to do so much more things. We don't have to commute, we don't have to dress up or get ready for work. Imagine if you combine all those things and you had to do them 4 hours a day. In a week, that would be around 20 hours just lost in traveling. But that's definitely not a problem with freelancing, as we get all those missing 20 hours for either getting some stuff done around the house, maybe playing some video games, or having it to just simply get some spa days and extended rest. And I can truly say this has been a game changer. I was able to use the time to learn more courses that helped me increase my value, spending time with my family and friends, or just be available to do my hobbies like YouTube. Number 2, freedom and flexibility. Something that's really different, I can say, is freedom and flexibility. Yes, some work-at-home freelancers do work in a sort of 9-to-5 type of job, but it's still very flexible. One thing I experienced in the office is having the feeling of being watched all the time. Like, you can't stand up and take a breather because someone is tracking how many hours you are at your seat. There is the office phenomenon that has people feeling like if you're not at your desk, you're not working. Being a freelancer, that's almost non-existent. I say almost because some companies keep time trackers, so essentially employers still get to see everything what a worker does in every minute. But personally, I have experience in working in human resources in the online community, and my boss has never told me to keep tabs on my coworkers, and we really don't. As long as your work is complete and you are not causing any delays to anyone in the team, you're free to really do whatever you want during the day. So yes, the beach photos of freelancers are real. Yes, you can work anywhere you want, your bed in Thailand, your laundry room, but just because you can, it doesn't mean you should. Which brings us to the next difference: discipline. This just doesn't get talked about enough by freelancers who are also influencers. Companies are paying you to keep up with the demands of the company. You are literally being paid to keep the company working. You are required to meet deadlines, and being a freelancer with so much freedom, it is very, very easy to get distracted and procrastinate at the end of the day. Unlike when you work in an office, you have your seniors and your team leaders who keeps you on track, checking your work, checking in if you're okay, co-workers who keep us accountable. We freelancers, we just don't have that. So building discipline, routine, and holding yourself accountable is an absolute must and is something you have to do yourself. As rewarding freedom and flexibility might be, you must have a good accountable mindset and keeping yourself focused and working when it is required and needed. But here's a trick. It does get easier to do that with the next big difference: the environment and the equipment. Okay, so just think about it for a moment. The way we were all able to focus at school or focus when we are at work in the corporate world, it is because the environment around us helps us to do that. The closed walls, the bright lights, the ominous working space with no distractions, having an organized desk, you gotta admit, it helps us become disciplined. And that's something entirely different when you're working at home. It is extremely difficult to separate work-life balance when work is literally in your daily life. But you can build yourself that same separation. In my experience, if you have your workstation in the same place where you sleep, or like your bedroom, it makes it really hard for me. You cannot completely turn your mind into a completely working mindset because behind you is just your bed. But also when you're resting, you can't completely go off and just rest fully because your workstation is right in front of you. Some people do just have a better grip on discipline than others. Me specifically, basically, I can't work in my bedroom. My mind is just in a completely different zone. But also, it's not easy to build the office at home because unlike when you work in the office, everything is provided for you. So I'm not gonna lie to you. It's hard in the beginning because when you start, you can't really afford to buy any office equipment. So you have to force yourself to work within the distractions. And there are a lot of time management tools that you can use to track your time and keep track of your to-do lists. You can set up alarms and calendar reminders to help you focus on work, but that is for another topic because we need to skip back to talking about the equipment needed. It is very rare to find a company that will provide you with your equipment, if not a zero possibility. If you're a freelancer, it is expected of you to already be equipped with the skills and the workstation needed to fulfill your role. So sometimes there might be some jobs that you simply could not apply for if you don't have the proper equipment. It really depends on what you want to do. If you'll choose a path that focuses on more administrative tasks, you may be able to get away with a more affordable laptop. But when it comes to graphic design, video editing, development, anything that has to do with creatives, it is recommended that you spend on your workstation. And getting exactly what fits your needs gets expensive real quick. Like if you're a developer, you'll spend more on accounting power. But if you're in video editing, you really need a good GPU and extra storage. If you do social media management, which involves a lot of multiple tasks, you'll need to spend more on RAM. It's insane, and sometimes you just gotta start working where you can afford it and work your way up. Unlike, again, you work in an office, it's never an issue. Not only that, you'll have to count in the costs of software. Some freelancers, maybe they're getting away with getting illegal software, but not only is it a risk to your work and security, there are just so many features and updates that increase productivity and workflow that you can get only if you really pay for the right software you need. And it's not that cheap at all. You'll need genuine Windows, maybe Adobe Creative Suite, Microsoft Office, Canva Pro. There's just so many things you need to pay for that isn't a problem if you work in an office. So before quitting that job to follow the advice of that one freelancer you saw at the beach, you may want to consider the costs, which brings us to our next major difference: income and security. Being a freelancer means you get to decide your own rates and services you provide, which is fun if you just listen to that statement alone. It's almost the same with regular offices where we apply, we sort of choose the income depending on how you negotiate with the client, and if you do provide contracted services, you also need to have portfolio ready and your rate cards. One thing that is so importantly different is job security. I'm not trying to scare you, but you can really be out of a job for so long if you're not careful in choosing your path. Companies are already built for you. You apply, you get hired, and they sort of take care of your growth, and if the company is big enough, you don't really feel scared of losing your job. It's not all the case with work-at-home freelance. I'm not gonna lie, working in freelance has allowed me to enjoy 3 times more than the regular income than of a person working in an office, if not more. The rates and contracts you receive in freelancing is absolutely lucrative, and even more worth it if you live in a very affordable place. Like when I was in the Philippines, there was just a huge influx of money that I know I would never ever reach in a normal company until 10 to 15 years later. But I've learned the hard way to make sure that I have enough for a rainy day, because since you don't really have long-term contracts, what I earn, I have to make sure I save, because I'll always be in a constant wonder if I still have my job next month or not. Remember, you need to keep learning yourself, upgrading yourself, adding value and knowledge to your current skill set. No one's gonna teach you how. No one is there to tell you what you're doing wrong, and no one will also be there for you if you need financial help, which opens up the last important difference is the isolation. I worked as an accountant in an accounting department and then switched to working in an airport as a ground stewardess. As you can already see, I'm super fine working in a team. The accounting department that I used to work at, I had amazing coworkers who would assist me if I needed anything, and my senior and department head who would guide my growth and help me immediately when I get problems. In the airport, there's just so many smiles and a great team you work with face to face, and you get to solve a lot of problems together and be able to make a lot of people people happy in the process. If all of that suddenly just proofs away and you suddenly just have to stare a lot at the computer for almost 16 hours a day with no one physical to talk to, no one to ask, no one to eat lunch with, it all suddenly becomes so dark really quick. In my second and third year of working at home, and mind you, I am an only child, you'd think I'd be used to being quiet and by myself already. I got really depressed. No amount of money could be able to replace the void of human interaction and having to be alone with your own thoughts every day. I was extremely lucky to have my mom at home with me, so I was able to cope, and I had a lot of dogs and cats back home, which really helped me. You eat lunch alone. You also have problems at work, and you have to suck it up and solve it by yourself. If there are any skills you need to solve your problems, you gotta find a way to learn it by yourself, and there's no one there to tell you if what you're doing is wrong or right. You just kind of get used to testing it out by yourself and repeat the process of trying and failing and trying and failing and until you just get confident enough to do whatever the hell you want, and having that feeling of failing as a normal part of your daily process. Being a freelancer means being a business owner where the business is you. Isolation really is a video of its own, so I'll just make another one that will help you get a few extra ideas on how me as a 7-year work-at-home freelancer deals with isolation. And with that, I end this video. I hope you learned something new today. I'll see you again next time, and happy freelancing!